Hello and welcome to The Take. I'm your host, Chesley McNeil. Each weekday, we're looking at stories, making headlines, and bringing experts from our community to give their take. Here's a look back at some of the top takes from this week and how those in the know are seeing those stories that impact you. 3 weeks since an EF2 tornado roared through Henry County, destroying the home of actor Trey Chaney. In the process, it hurled his son, his 18-year-old son Malachi, more than 100 feet in the nearby woods, suffering serious injuries. Since then, Trey and his wife have been remaining by Malachi's side throughout his hospitalization, facing a long recovery journey together. Malachi spent several days in the ICU and is now facing potential long and challenging rehabilitation from his injuries. Joining us now is Trey Chaney. Trey, welcome to the show.
Hey, how's it going, brother? How you doing?
Doing good, man. Doing good. You're doing better. I know that. Happy Father's Day to you. It was a better Father's Day than what it could have been, right?
Yeah, man, it definitely was. Of course, you know, these last 3.5 weeks, traumatic, devastating. And all I can say is me, my wife, Aisha, and our incredible son, Malachi Chaney, we're taking it one day at a time. You know, between these last 3 weeks, Malachi spent in ICU. He spent his 19th birthday in ICU at Grady Hospital. And after Grady, of course, now we're at the Shepherd Center, the rehabilitation center, which has been doing an incredible job with our son, just, treating his brain injury. He had a brain injury. He suffered from broken ribs. The back of his neck, spine was broke. Every bone in his face fractured. But on Father's Day, to see him walk with his neck brace on, to see him smile, to see him talk, that was the greatest gift a father could ever ask for.
Wow. You know, a lot of people do not survive what you two survived. Walk us through the moments leading up to when the tornado struck your home.
Yeah, well, May 29, 2025, we were having a beautiful day. We were promoting 23 years of The Wire, being out, and we did a lot of press that morning. Everyone knows, my son, me and him are like this. And I take him everywhere with me. We experience a lot together. And around 2:45, maybe 3 p.m., we were packing because Malachi's birthday was going to be on that Sunday, June 1st. And we were going to go out of town. And Malachi said, okay, Dad, I'm going to go in my room. I'm going to play my video game. I told him I'm going to go in my room. I'm going to finish packing. And before you know it, the rain just didn't sound like the rain. The wind didn't sound like the wind. It felt like it was a train in my house. And before you know it, when I looked to my right, my walls, my TVs, my dressers were flying towards my face.
Wow.
The last thing I do remember is trying to cover my face, but I levitated in the air with my bed, and that was the last thing I remember. When I woke up, because I know I had been unconscious maybe, I don't know how long, but when I woke up wrapped in sheets, and that was probably because of sitting on the edge of my bed, and my face was in the mud, and when I came from under the cover, my whole house was in my yard. My roof was gone, and the first thing I said out of my mouth is, where's Malachi?
Absolutely.
Where's Malachi? I was in total shock. My neighbors, shout out to all of my neighbors in my neighborhood. I love them. They were like first responders. They were running towards me. They were trying to calm me down. But all I could think about, where's my son? Right. I know my son was in the house. And, just leading up to finding him, my wife coming home from work to this horrific look of our home that we had built in 2020, destroyed by a tornado. And 5 years later, when they finally found my son, he was thrown at least 100 to 200 feet in the woods.
When you look at the damage of your home, and talk to me about the resiliency of your son. I mean, I'm sure when you look at that damage and you think about him, how he's able to fight back. Talk to us about that.
Yeah, it's basically, man, it's, only way that we survived that was God. So my perspective on life right now when it comes to material things and fame and money and cars, none of that stuff matters. The resilience of Malachi fighting for his life, us not knowing whether he was going to make it when they read down all of the injuries, and to see him now, push as hard as he can to try to get back to some type of normalcy. But even though with the brain injury, he's fighting every day. You know, he's still fighting, and the resilience that he has, he doesn't even understand how much this inspires me and my wife. You know, to keep going through and getting through this day by day, because our lives are forever changed. Like mentally, you know, PTSD, me waking up in the middle of the night, I'm scared to go outside in the rain. Like it's,
I understand.
It's tough, but like I said, man, just one day at a time, and pushing our hardest to get through this horrific nightmare that we're in now.
All right, here with some news that's out of this world. Georgia Tech researchers have identified that a 13-mile wide mountain on the rim of the crater of Mars is likely a composite volcano. Here to talk more about it is James Ray with the Georgia Tech School of Earth and Science, Atmospheric Sciences. Ray, welcome to the show. Professor Ray, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Good morning.
All right, now you were a part of this group that made this discovery. What tipped you off that it might be a mountain, or this mountain may be a volcano?
So NASA has been considering this site for its biggest campaign in planetary science, to not only explore with a rover, but collect samples that we want to return to the Earth to look for subtle evidence of past life and better understand Mars as a whole. NASA's been considering this site back since 2007, and when I first saw images of this crater, where the rover ended up going, Jezero Crater, there was a mountain on the rim of the crater that looked to me like a volcano. It didn't get much discussion all through the landing site selection process, mission development, and then the rover landed in the crater 4 years ago and was looking for sedimentary rocks that would record a watery history in the crater, and instead it found volcanic rocks. And the team, a lot of discussion, where could these volcanic rocks have come from? We don't have any idea. And I thought, well, wait a minute, there was that mountain, right? And you can see it here behind me. So I'm here in Jezero Crater on Mars, and this is the view the rover had from just about day one. And the rover landed about as far from this mountain, which we now call Jezero Mons, as Midtown is from Stone Mountain. So this is kind of like Stone Mountain on the horizon, but it's a much bigger mountain, as you said. And really the volcanic rocks that the rover found were kind of the thing that made us want to track this down further.
Right. Well, talk to us, why is this significant?
Again, if we do get rocks back from this crater as planned, we'll look for evidence of past life on Mars. That's a huge motivator for exploring the entire solar system for NASA, but we'll also do things that we can't do with rovers on a planet without bringing the rocks back to Earth, such as determine how old the rocks are. So if you find volcanic rocks, you can say definitively, if you have them back in a lab on the Earth, how long ago they formed. So when was Mars volcanically active? By identifying the actual potential source of those volcanic rocks, we can say not only Mars was volcanically active at that time, but this particular volcano was erupting at that time, and that helps us to piece together the geologic history of Mars in much more detail. The other thing, Mars is a cold planet. This particular site, I don't think ever gets above the 32 Fahrenheit freezing temperature of water. So sources of heat in the environment, like subsurface magma that occasionally erupts as lava, any day a volcano erupts, it's not a great day for anybody who might be living nearby, but having the heat source there over the longer term could be a positive for the prospects for life.
All right, everybody wants to know, Professor James Ray, does this mean that there could have been life on Mars?
Yeah, I think it doesn't get us any closer to answering that for sure. What it does again is provide an energy source that if life was able to evolve on Mars, then this could have been a good place for it to hang out for a while, because you had heat in addition to water in the crater, and those are a couple of the things that all life as we know it would need.
A small but venomous ant is gaining attention across the nation. As of this month, the Asian needle ant has been confirmed in 19 states, including right here in Georgia. Joining us now is Dan Sudter, the University of Georgia professor of urban entomology, and I want to call it entomology. Dan, talk to us about this ant.
Good morning, Chesley. This story started almost 100 years ago.
Wow.
So, yeah, that's the thing. So this ant was first found in Decatur, believe it or not, in 1930s. So, you know, typically in entomology, by the time an invasive species is found, so this critter is from Asia. It's from Japan, Korea, China, that area of the world. First found in Decatur back in the 1930s. And typically in entomology, when you find an invasive species, you didn't find it when it fell off the container, right? So it was probably very well established in Georgia, and maybe even some researchers at North Carolina State suggested it was probably in a couple other states at that time. So it's all over the Southeast now. It's up the East Coast, up into the New England states, and entomologists never really paid attention until about 25 years ago. So we had several entomologists at Clemson University, Pat Zingoli and Eric Benson. They're both retired now. Put several graduate students through graduate programs working on this ant. And they sounded the alarm back in 2006 about the medical importance of this ant. And it's not so much a nuisance like our sugar ants in Georgia, which is another invasive from Argentina. We actually call it the Argentina ant. But the thing about the Asian needle ant is it's medically important. I have three emails in my inbox right now from people who have suffered from anaphylaxis and have been hospitalized after being stung by this ant.
I was going to ask you, is it dangerous because you're calling it a needle ant? Is that because it has a needle that can pierce your skin?
It does. It has a stinger, and but getting back to it just hasn't garnered a lot of attention. It's an ant, right? So who cares about ants? And so it lives. Its favorite habitat is hardwood areas, the leaf litter. So all of Georgia, right? So the East Coast. Everybody. I live here in Griffin, and I live on an acre, and my backyard is all white oaks. And oak trees are beautiful, but that's the habitat that this ant prefers. And it's about 3/16 of an inch long. It's black or brown. Lives in logs. So when you cut down, a log falls, right, and the bark comes off of the log. They love to get in those logs that have kind of fallen down, because what they do is they hold on to moisture. Yeah. And so when you're out gardening, when I'm out, I've been stung by it. When I leave something on the ground, a bag of topsoil or a bale of pine straw or something like that, when I pick it up, I always look, because I've been stung in the past, because they like to get underneath those things. And gas.
How do you know the difference? How do you know if you have needle ants or just another type of ant?
That's a really important point, because you take anybody's yard in Georgia, and you probably have a couple dozen species of ants in your yard. I have multiple species of ants in I know to look, right? So there have been surveys of the ants of Georgia. I had a graduate student, for instance, that worked on the ants just at the port of Savannah, and he found 43 species of ants just at the port. So ants are ubiquitous. We know this. It's really important that you get it identified, and the best way to get it identified is through your county extension agent. So really lean on your county agent. If you think you have Asian needle ants on your property, and in Atlanta, in Northeast Georgia, is a pretty good bet. Take a picture of it. You can collect one with forceps, tweezers, put it in a little baggie, fill with some alcohol, and send it off to your county extension agent. Especially, it's really important to get it identified, especially if you or someone in your family is susceptible to anaphylaxis, because literally a single sting from this can put you in the hospital.
Wow.
It's pretty serious. It doesn't come inside. That's the beauty of this critter, is it's not like the sugar ants that are going to come. You get the sugar ants in the summertime where leave the dog food out or the cat food, and you wake up in the morning and the dog food's covered with ants. That's not this ant. It stays outside.
Gotcha.
It doesn't climb up trees. It's just but it's kind of where you find it, it's kind of all over the place, and it lives in those logs, it lives underneath patio stones, things of that sort. So
Gotcha.
it's important to get it identified.
A new wave of aggressive ICE raids sparking the protests across Metro Atlanta and across the country as well. But it's also sparked some fear in the Latino community and communities from coast to coast. Here now is Santiago Marquez. He is the CEO of the Latin American Association. Welcome to the show, Santiago.
Thank you. Good morning. Pleasure to have you.
All right.
Pleasure to have me. Sorry.
Yeah.
Forgive me.
No, welcome to the show. Hey, welcome to the show. How have you and members of your group and the broader Latino community been coping with these sudden waves of ICE raids?
Yes, it's been very scary, as you mentioned. Excuse me. There's created a lot of confusion and chaos. I think that there are a lot of families that are in fear. We see a lot of what we call mixed status families, where the children are American citizens. They've been born here, and one or maybe both of their parents are undocumented. And so those parents are afraid to go out to work or go anywhere outside of their houses. They have to go to work. And so I think what we're seeing is a limited activity, going to work, going to church, and then trying to avoid going to public places as much as possible. So it's definitely created some fear, confusion, and anxiety within the community.
Have you been seeing that right here? And if you've been seeing that, how are people coping? How are they getting the things they need if they can't go out?
We have seen it, yeah. So I think that if I look back on the 6 months of this year, like January, February, people were concerned, were afraid, and then I think like March and April, people just started coming back out. They were living life as usual, life as normal, and then we saw a pickup in ICE activity around like Buford Highway and around certain areas. And so certainly we've seen not a decline in requests for services, but a decline in a request for certain services, like people coming to the building. And then when we talk to our partners, they're experiencing the same things. And the example I would use would be like food distribution events, right? A lot of our partners are telling us that they're seeing a decline where they were used to getting a couple hundred people. In some cases, it's down to like, a handful of people. And so I think that's what we're experiencing. Now, in other services, there's still people coming out, like for job services, workforce services. People are still coming in good numbers. We had a career expo last week in our building. We had about 260 people coming for that.
Mm-hmm. What businesses would you say are suffering the most from what's taking place?
Well, I definitely think construction. Construction already has had a workforce shortage. I think about 20,000 employees. Overall, the sector is down. Restaurant industry, the hospitality industry, are easy ones that have to name, because they're already experiencing workforce shortages, and people that are afraid to work will just stop going to work. And I would say probably agriculture and manufacturing as well.
What are these rates doing to families, in particular the children?
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question?
What are these rates doing to, or at least these fears, doing to families and in particular the children?
Yeah, so I think number one, it's causing a lot of trauma, right? Mm-hmm. So, with fear comes trauma and anxiety. Kids, even if the kids are American citizens, they're worried about their parents or their extended families. And in some cases, it's breaking families up, right? I know that we have seen cases where the dad, who's the main breadwinner, has gotten deported, and then mom is still here with 2 or 3 kids, and she's trying to figure out a way to generate some revenue to take care of the children. So we've seen some family separation, a lot of mental health issues, and a lot of trauma and anxiety that it's creating and causing within the family and the kids.
What's your reaction to Saturday's protest?
Well, so as an American, I'm an immigrant, but I'm an American citizen. I believe in the right for peaceful and organized protest. I was not there; I was out of town, but I had some staff that were there, and the feedback that we got was that they felt like they were protesting peacefully, and that in many cases they saw tear gas. They were tear gassed. If you're talking about the one that happened in DeKalb County, I know that we are meeting with officials. Actually, we're meeting with officials today from the county, and then we're meeting with like the police chiefs of the multiple cities, like around where we are, around DeKalb. just to have a conversation. So again, I as an American citizen believe in peaceful and organized protest. The LAA does not get involved in protests or marches because we're a direct service provider. So for us, it's very important that we just keep providing services every day.
Yeah.
But I do have, it's personal now because I have some staff that were there that have reported back to me what happened. And so I'll be looking forward to talking to the officials and the county leadership around that and seeing what they have to say.
Gotcha. Lastly, what do you want local and federal policymakers to hear loud and clear from the communities that you represent?
That we would love to see some comprehensive immigration reform. We've been calling for this for many, many, many years. I think that this is a great time for us to start thinking about that. We have many people that are here that have been here for a long time that we need to figure out what we need to do with them, how we can help them be part of the system and not be in the shadows and in the underground economy. Would love for these folks to be able to have a driver's license and buy homes and participate in the American dream. So we would love to see something that's, a comprehensive immigration reform that's bipartisan, that would resolve the situation so we can all feel safe and secure, but also provide opportunity for people that have been here for a long time, that are working hard and that want to be part of this beautiful American dream.
Metro Atlanta's Mus Ministries has been serving summer meals for decades and is now facing an urgent surge in demand, prompting a community-wide plea for help. Joining us now is Dr. Ike Reichard, President and CEO of Mus Ministries. Dr. Reichard, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Chelsea, for having me on today. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Walk us through this shortage and what it means for families and children depending on these meals every day.
Well, one of the things we do at Mus Ministries, and we're known for, is the summer lunch feeding program. Last year, over 535,000 summer lunches were prepared. And when I say lunches, we do each week 5 breakfast items, 5 lunch items. There's snacks that go out, juice boxes, things of that nature. And by the end of the summer, we'll be taking care of approximately 8,000 children each week to be able to provide those needs for them when it comes to nutrition.
What's different about the demand this year that you're seeing?
The demand this year is ratcheted up. I think probably with inflation, there's been a lot of feeding programs that have changed. During COVID, there were some nonprofits who used to do feeding programs similar to ours that are no longer being able to do that. Some of them no longer exist. Some of them have had to reduce what they're doing. So I think all of it goes together to kind of create the perfect storm that there's a tremendous need, and yet there's not as many organizations to be able to meet that need. Plus, you have some programs now that require the children to be able to come like to a school or to be able to come to a library in order to be able to get a summer lunch. And if both of your parents are working, that pretty much makes it impossible for you to be able to get there.
Economy pretty hard hit. Are you seeing different kinds of families now coming to you for help?
Well, one of the things that we've noticed over the last couple of years is that there's families that come that say, I used to contribute to Mus. I used to be a donor and I would help out Mus. And for many of them, it's very difficult. It's very humbling to all of a sudden be on the other end and that you're in need rather than being the one that's giving some resources. Absolutely.
Food, one thing. Do you have enough volunteers and resources to help keep up with that pace that you're trying to see, that you're going to see?
We're extraordinarily blessed when it comes to volunteers. We have a tremendous volunteer base that helps to take care of that particular need. But the biggest thing are what we call food kits, kids kits. And that's being able to put together what we call shelf-stable items. So when you think about breakfast, being able to do the packaged waffles, to be able to put together noodles, things like that, macaroni and cheese. And so there's a lot of homeowners associations, businesses, groups that get together, and they pack together those kids kits. And it was amazing because I got to do a story on 11Alive last week about the need. And then there were some radio stations that also broadcast about the need. And immediately, the Amazon orders picked up tremendously. We received 35 pallets of food on Saturday, 25 pallets on Monday. So the people who watch 11Alive are not only generous, but they're extremely responsive when you let them know about the need.
All right, so we're back again. Let us know exactly what you need right now. What can folks out there watching saying, hey, I want to get involved, I want to help. How can we help?
You can go to musministries.org and you can click on Summer Lunch and you can find all the different ways to be able to participate, the ways to be able to give. Of course, financial support is always so important. And 11Alive's always stepped up and done great things. And you, Chelsea McNeil, you've been an asset to our community in so many ways. So thank you for helping us to get that story out, because altogether Summer Lunch is 9 weeks long. So we're about halfway through, and we want to be able to finish strong. And by the end of that time, 8,000 children a week are going to be getting fed.
All right, so we got you. We got the food donations, we got monetary donations. Are there other ways that people can pitch in that you may need?
Oh, always with volunteering. You can even come work in the warehouse that we have. We have a donation center. And so that's where we're doing a lot of the packing. We also are very fortunate that people at Town Center Mall have given us some space there. And so that's one of the areas, a staging area. So in order to carry this out, it takes a great deal of people, certainly takes the finances, and then just people going on Amazon, Amazon Smiles, and ordering those items that come straight into our warehouse. That is a tremendous way to help us.
The rising crisis between Israel and Iran is raising many questions about how it got to this point, as well as reminding people that this part of the world has undergone seemingly consistent conflict for thousands of years. Here now to help us understand the story is Professor Levin from Emory Department of Middle Eastern and South Asian Studies. Welcome to the show, my friend.
Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, absolutely. Why should people in Metro Atlanta pay close attention to what's happening right now?
Well, this is a conflict that's going to require some sort of American involvement to bring it to some end, whether that's a negotiated solution through American diplomacy or through direct American military involvement. So these are big questions for the United States, whether people have family in the region or whether they have people involved in the military.
You know, given Israel's historic approach to external threats, how does this current crisis, compare to past conflicts?
Well, you have to remember there's been plenty of wars in the past 50 years, but none of them have been between Israel and another country, a government with a full military. You know, Israel's had war against Hamas, Hezbollah. These are non-state actors. You have to go back till 1973 to find a war in which Israel is really fighting a major enemy. So we're really in uncharted territory here. Israel had a really successful initial strike, but just because we know how this starts doesn't mean we know how it's going to end.
All right. Historically, the United States has tried to manage the tensions in that particular region of the world. Talk to us about that a little bit.
Yeah, America has a long history of involvement as a diplomatic negotiator. When we're talking about Jimmy Carter and Egypt and Israel in the 1970s, we're talking about Bill Clinton, Israel and the Palestinians in the 1990s. So right now, the question is if we're heading toward a longer military struggle between Israel, Iran, and potentially the United States, or if President Trump is going to really try to play the role of negotiator and resurrect some sort of Iran nuclear agreement that's a more advanced version of, or a more comprehensive version of what President Obama negotiated 10 years ago.
Yeah. You know, this is a part of the world where it's, George's favorite son, former President Jimmy Carter, tried to bring some peace. How has his legacy still felt today there?
Yeah, I mean, you have a record of success with Jimmy Carter in having negotiated a settlement between Israel and its then greatest enemy, the government of Egypt. So the fact is, amazing things can happen. You know, obviously there's been missteps, there's been challenges in negotiations in the decades since, but there's certainly some precedent. And the negotiations, the Camp David Accord that President Carter successfully negotiated came only a few years after the 1973 Yom Kippur War. So just because there's a war breaking out now it can actually create openings for potential negotiated solutions in the years to come.
Mm-hmm. Back to the current situation, what flashpoints are you looking for currently?
Well, again, are we going in the direction of American involvement? So the heart of the Iranian nuclear program is deeply underground, and only American bombs and the B-2 bomber can destroy it. So we have a few different possibilities here. Is America going to get involved? Will there be decisive destruction of the nuclear program? Will there be a negotiated disarmament? Because there's all this military pressure from Israel, and the Trump administration steps in and takes advantage of that, which would require Iran really backing down in a way that's hard to foresee, but not impossible. Or we're going to see an extended a war which just goes on at a lower medium level. And all of these are possibilities. And only time will tell, given the leadership of these three countries.
Of those possibilities, how do you see this playing out? 6, maybe 12 months from now? How do you envision it playing out?
Well, the best solution for anyone would be a negotiated Iranian disarmament. And this is incredible pressure on Iran right now. I think that's not a highly likely scenario, but it would be ideal. There's a possibility of American involvement in decisive destruction but that could also not resolve the war, but leave things at a low level. So, and then if the program isn't destroyed, there's also going to be a continuing sort of low-level conflict. So there's a good chance that this could last a long time. There's a possibility this could end quickly. I'm a historian. I look toward the past. I'm not predicting the future, but these are all possibilities of things that might emerge from this.
She shouldn't be. I shouldn't be burying my daughter. My daughter should bury me. She had a lot to give. So I'm just trying to hold it together right now.
That's the mother of Adriana Smith, the Metro Atlanta nurse who was declared brain dead in February while pregnant. Adriana's infant son, Chance, was delivered by emergency C-section on last Friday. April Newkirk tells 11Alive that Smith was taken off life support on Tuesday. Now the questions and the accompanying ethical debate over what happened shifts to a new arena. Joining us now is Allison Whalen from the Georgia State Center for Law, Health, and Society. Allison, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
All right, let's talk about this case. It's drawing national attention now. What does it reveal about the tensions between the fetal personhood of law and families' rights to private medical choices?
So I think this reflects the broader issues with respect to abortion restrictions and fetal personhood laws throughout the country, particularly with respect to the chilling effect that they have on the provision of medical care for pregnant persons. So despite the fact that many of these laws do not address any of these sorts of situations explicitly, we can see in the case of Adriana Smith the chilling effect that it has on healthcare providers in making these decisions, particularly in emergency situations where they don't have clarity about the laws and the fears of potential criminal liabilities, which ultimately impacts how they make these decisions.
Yeah, it centers, speaking of the laws, it centers around Georgia's heartbeat law, which generally bans abortions after a fetal cardiac activity is detected, roughly about 6 weeks. How does this legal intersects with the end-of-life medical decisions, like removing somebody from life support?
So based on what we know about this case, it seems that what likely happened here is that looking at all of Georgia's laws that deal with pregnancy and abortion, the healthcare providers in this case made the decision, it appears, that they were fearful that the abortion law, or more likely potentially the fetal personhood law in Georgia, could prohibit them from withdrawing end-of-life care from a pregnant person. So as you noted, the abortion law in Georgia prohibits abortion after the detection of cardiac activity around 6 weeks. When Adriana was declared brain dead, she was around 8 or 9 weeks pregnant. So potentially the abortion law would kick in. As we know, the Attorney General later came out and said that Georgia's abortion law did not prevent the removal of Adriana from life support because that action would not be done with the intent to terminate the pregnancy as the law is phrased. However, what is also going on under the surface here that hasn't gotten as much discussion is Georgia's fetal personhood law, which is broader than the abortion law and defines a fetus or embryo from the moment of conception as a natural person under Georgia law. And so therefore, that could kick in potential homicide charges above and beyond the abortion law, because if a fetus is a person, withdrawing life support would terminate that life, and then potentially the hospital could have interpreted that fetal personhood provision as making them subject to homicide laws beyond the abortion laws.
All right, so you mentioned the statements by Chris Carr. What's, in your view, what could lawmakers and courts do to clarify the boundaries between the abortion restrictions and other medical care?
So I think what we saw in this case was, the statements came a little bit too late. Too little, too late were these clarifications. And that's what's happening across the country with all of these various exceptions or unclear and vague laws. So certainly one thing that could be done is that the law could be explicitly amended to make it clear that this does, when and this does and does not apply, and that it does not apply for end of life issues. However, I think there's still broader issues. For example, in a number of states, end of life, for example, living wills are either suspended in whole or in part for pregnant people. So that's another area of law that likely needs to be changed. Despite the attention given to this issue and calls by some representatives to make legal and policy changes, I don't think in the near future we are going to see any changes, however, with respect particularly to the abortion law, because the Attorney General and the law supporters don't think, as phrased, the law actually requires what happened in Adriana's case. So they already think the law seems to be clear enough. I think we know that's not the case, but given that there's a Republican majority in the Georgia legislature, making movement on the abortion law, I think, is unlikely.
So you think this is like they look at this as a one-time kind of a thing, or a one-off, that generally it covers everything?
Yeah, I think they view this as the abortion law. If another case in Georgia were to come up similar to Adriana's case, they don't think that the abortion law requires requires a pregnant person to be kept on life support. However, as I mentioned, this is a broader issue, not just implicating the abortion law. So I do think legislative change is needed with respect to the abortion law, the fetal personhood law, as well as laws and policies regarding end-of-life care and living wills for pregnant people. And I also hope, beyond the legislative change, however, that this is going to engender some broader national and state discussions within not only the legislature, but also the healthcare system. So I hope that this will kind of cause hospitals to create policies and think about these situations in advance, because it's possible that what happened here is that Emory University Hospital was kind of caught off guard and hadn't thought about this situation and how it intersects with the abortion law. So I hope at the institutional level, this will engender some policy changes.
We want to kind of get you acclimated to the suppressive heat that could be coming our way. Let's talk to Micah Swaka. He's the adjunct professor at Georgia Tech's School of Biological Sciences. He was part of the research to help athletes and occupational workers better understand and prevent sweat loss and dehydration. Welcome to the show, Dr. Swaka.
Good morning. How are you?
Hey, listen, your research dives into that gradual heat exposure that helps the body adapt. Walk us through what happens inside of our bodies during this acclimation process.
Sure. Humans can adapt to heat. We're warm weather animals. We can have quite a bit of adaptation. And what we have over first 3-4 days, quite a few changes, and it can continue out. The changes that occur are: one, you can increase your ability to sweat. Two, you can increase to have cardiovascular stability so that you can support high skin blood flow for heat loss and the sweating losses. In addition, there's a bunch of changes that are molecular that help protect tissues from high temperatures and the cardiovascular strain that occurs with heat stress.
For folks who work in Atlanta or want to exercise outside, we do a lot of things. This is really a year long. You try to be outside. How long does it realistically take the body to adjust to the summer conditions?
You can do quite a bit in 4 days, but you basically adapt to what you exposed to. But it can continue on for many weeks, actually. But we usually use a rule of thumb that after 8 to 10 days, you're pretty well adapted to whatever you've been exposed to.
Why is this a critical thing for us to do? Like when you talk about sweat efficiency, right? On these muggy days, why is it so critical for us?
Sweat's only part of it, because as you get to higher temperatures, you're totally dependent on sweat for heat loss. Because as the ambient temperature gets higher than body temperatures, you're gaining heat from the environment. So sweat's part of it, but also the cardiovascular adaptations that support that. And the problem that folks have is that they underdrink. That if you just voluntarily would want to replace fluids, you'd only replace 30 to 50%, and that's even in a heat acclimatized person. So they'll dehydrate over time. This then can increase cardiovascular strain, increase body temperature, and result in exertional heat illness or heat illness, such as heat exhaustion or heat stroke. So that's one adaptation, is to be able to acclimatize. Second is to replace hydration. But also I think it's important with the hot weather coming up that individuals think about low technology approaches that may be able to abate the heat stress, and also if they're feeling strain, to be able to reduce the risk of exertional heat illness or heat illness. And two of these that have been quite a bit developed by the military, much of it down here at Fort Benning, at the experimental place, is one something called arm immersion. That if you're outdoors and you don't have a lot of technology there, you can get a tub of cold water, immerse your arms. You can reduce body temperature a little bit. And also it's been shown to reduce the severity of exertional heat illness. The second is that if you have someone that you suspect that has heat illness, and you can't initially tell the difference between heat stroke and heat exhaustion, they look the same, is you want to cool them. You not only want to cool them to drop body temperature, but you want to push the blood back from the skin to the heart so that you can provide blood flow to the tissues. And what's been very effective in that's been developed, is just get an ice chest, a cooler chest, fill it with ice, and put in cold sheets. These cold sheets, basically, if you have someone that you suspect, wrap them in those cold sheets, keep it cool until an ambulance comes. This has been shown to be extremely effective. It's low cost. It can go to austere conditions like an athletic field or a picnic. And if you think that you have susceptible people, so you don't have to spend a lot of money. There's ways that you can help protect your family and friends.
The U.S. Supreme Court ruling Wednesday in a 6-3 decision upholding Tennessee's ban on puberty blockers and hormone therapy for transgender minors, making it the first major high court decision on gender-affirming care. The decision strengthens similar bans in the other 24 Republican-led states, including Georgia, and signals that such laws are likely constitutional under current federal standards. In their dissent, 3 liberal justices argued the ruling ignores medical consents and puts vulnerable transgender youth at a greater risk of mental health crisis and harm. Here to break down the ruling is John Acevedo with Emory's School of Law. Welcome to the show, my friend.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right, a 6-3 ruling along partisan lines. If you can, break down some of those key items that stand out in this particular ruling.
So in many ways, this ruling is building off fairly earlier precedent and not a huge step. So the court's always held that age is not a protected classification. It's also held that access to medical treatment is not a fundamental right. So in the ruling, they said both of these are protected kind of at the lowest standard possible, which is called rational basis. And essentially, it means that any possible rational reason will be allowed. So as long as it's a legitimate reason, your goal isn't to discriminate, they are going to uphold those laws. So what we're seeing here is the court really kind of building off those two previously decided decisions and not taking up the opportunity to protect transgender's youth or transgender as a category.
How does this ruling set a precedent for states like Georgia, where lawmakers are already restricting some forms of gender-affirming care?
It's basically giving wide latitude to state lawmakers. So we're going to see probably a split. Some states, California, New York, Massachusetts, likely to continue to allow gender-affirming care. We're going to see other states restrict it even further. The key here is it's to the age of 18. At 18, now it really becomes a decision between the patient and their health insurance company and medical providers. And in many ways, the next fight is going to be whether a state can stop a medical provider, so think Blue Shield, Aetna, Kaiser, from providing this sort of service. That's going to really be the next step in this fight as we move from youth to adults.
Yeah. Do you think we see tighter laws here?
we're very likely to see tighter laws. Georgia will be interesting to see because we're such a divided state. We're really a purple state. So I could see our lawmakers treading a little bit lighter for fear of alienating the population.
All right. What practical options do you see families or doctors have if they disagree with these bans?
It'll be interesting. What we're going to see is, of course, families with means, with wealth, will travel to another state to receive these treatments. It'll be interesting to see if states try to ban the importation of these drugs. Now, the court said that you can use these procedures for other conditions, which is interesting. They said they are not banning hormone blockers or any surgeries. It's just you cannot use those for gender identification treatment. So what we're seeing here is a very targeted law, but that also leaves a wide range to skirt around the law. So it'll be interesting to see how families start to negotiate, how insurance companies start to negotiate. Of course, those who don't have a means to travel, either because of job or wealth, are going to be much more harmed by this. They're going to be more tied to their individual states. Where you are, if you're in Indiana, Illinois is a short hop over. But if you're here in Georgia, most of the states around us have similar bans, so it's going to be a further, more arduous journey out. So it is going to create kind of two medical systems and exacerbate that we already have in this country. But we'll see wealthier families will get their children the care they want, and other families will be denied.
Here's my final take, folks. There's a name synonymous with the Nathan's hot dog eating contest. That name? Joey Chestnut, right? Known as the Michael Jordan of hot dog eating, he will make his return this July 4th after a brief hiatus in 2024. The 16-time champion has won the contest every year from 2016 to 2023. Last year, he was banned from the contest because of a partnership with Impossible Foods. Now the champ is back. Shout out to Nathan's Hot Dogs for recognizing they made a mistake. Listen, everybody wants to see the champ or at least see him taken out, right? Let's face it, Nathan's. Right? This is not a major sport. You don't get paid a whole lot of money for this particular contest. Everybody gets excited to see it on the 4th of July. They only pay him about $10,000. You can't live off of that and hot dogs alone. Let him have his sponsorships. We want to see the champ eat. I mean, it is a little bit disgusting, but, let him eat. He's won a lot of championships. Who can take him out, right? That's what we want to see. That's all we got for you today, folks. Welcome back, Joey. Try to encourage someone today. Make it a great day. We'll see you back here tomorrow.